Hello, and welcome back to my Power Racers Retrospective. My name is Jack Back, and today we'll be taking a look at set 8651, the Jumping Giant. Now, before we get into this, a quick preface. This may seem like a weird set to start the wave with, so I'll explain why. This wave has two massive sets on top of the usual sets, so I want to make a video on one at the start of the wave, and a video on the other at the end, as to avoid lumping a bunch of bigger videos one after another. So, here we are with our first Technic-based set, and right off the bat, this thing completely dwarfs everything else up until this point. It is powered by two set-exclusive motors, giving it a very satisfying four-wheel drive. Speaking of wheels, these big tires are fun to squish and give the vehicle a lot of bounciness. The number 51 can also be seen on the vehicle, which could be referring to its set number, which ends with 51. Now, if you also own this set, you might be squinting at this a little bit. It might not look quite the same as yours. There is a good reason for this though. You see, there were two different versions of this set, one which featured these pieces, and one which featured them with their colors reversed, as listed in the alternate items section of the Bricklink inventory. If you're new to this set, on the other hand, something else might be catching your eye, that being this flag. Is it a unique element? No, not quite. Here, this picture should clarify. Yeah, it's a sticker. The LEGO group thought wrapping a sticker around this flex tube to make a flag was a good idea. They were wrong. Though on the other hand, a cloth flag may have been too much for the parts budget or looked a bit off, and a brick-built one too prone to falling off. And this is an appropriate material. Still, this is a weird solution, and I'm glad it hasn't been used elsewhere, at least not to my knowledge. With all that out of the way, let's see what kinds of interesting elements we have to look at here. These light bluish-gray rims make their first appearance. This pearl light gray engine is rare, as are these large yellow Technic fairings. Finally, this black bumper makes its final appearance here, as does this black spoiler and these yellow Technic pins with axle holes. Anyway, with all that done, let's drive this monster. Now, as you may have put together, this set isn't part of any combiner models, but looking at the box, which I fortunately still have, it does appear to have an alternate model. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't find any instructions, let alone any documentation of this model at all. However, looking closer, it seems to recycle the base of the Jumping Giant, so building it shouldn't be too imposing a task. So, here we have it. The alt build for the Jumping Giant, which I will call the Giant Jumper. It uses almost all the pieces available, and it took me about 45 minutes to reverse engineer. Of course, due to a lack of official instructions, I can't be sure my build is 100% correct. Oddly proportioned as it may be, I really like this thing. I especially like how the way these fairings are angled helps make the vehicle look a lot more closed off, as opposed to feeling like a hollow wireframe, which is an issue I often have with Technic models. One problem with it though is that the way these fairings are connected does make them prone to shifting about. Another issue is that it expects you to remove the flag sticker to build it, as can be seen with this flex tube used here, as the set only comes with one. I have instead just used a separate piece from my collection. I may or may not make instructions for this later down the road, but for now, here's a shot of the internals to help if you want to build this yourself. I am happy to report that there are no illegal or iffy building techniques with this model, despite it being an alternate model. Now, it may not functionally be different from the main model, but that's not going to stop me from giving this thing a spin. That about does it for this episode. Tune in again next time as we make our way further down the racetrack.